All right, guys. You're welcome to Ethereum Nigeria, and we're having a virtual workshop. We hope to have a couple of workshops this month. So if you belong to any of the communities, you could just indicate or participate, or just get involved what we're doing. So a little bit about the Ethereum community. Before then, my name is Chukwemeka Inakobaby. I lead the Ethereum Nigeria community. This is a community that started after the DEFCON experience way back in 2019. So we are all charged as scholars, about 65 plus scholars around the world, through the scholarship program sponsored by the DEFCON. And our task was to go build a community for the Ethereum ecosystems. So, and we have a couple of communities around, and this is one of our initiatives. So, and this workshop is possible through the help of my team. And we're very glad to have one of our speakers and a mentor and part of the community members. Olatomisi will be taking a shot. So after this, we hope we have a couple of events from Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Anambra, Benin as well. So just join the Telegram, get the notification, and you'll be updated what's happening. So I don't know, Thomas, are you there? Can you hear me? I'm using my mobile phone actually, so.
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So we are happy to have you, and yeah, over to you guys. Yeah, over to you guys.
Okay, let me just share my screen. Please, can everybody see my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Ethereum Nigeria Design Workshop. My name is Oluwatomisi Ligali, and I am a product designer. And today we'll be looking at the art of user-centered product design. And here are our touch points. We're talking about the introduction to user-centered product design, understanding your users, the design process, tools and techniques used in design psychology, accessibility in design, and yeah. Okay, so the first thing on our touch point is introduction to user-centered design. So what exactly is user-centered design? User-centered design, also known as UCD, is a design approach and methodology that places the needs, preferences, and experiences of the end users at the forefront of our design process. It is a human-centered approach that aims to create products and solutions that aligns with the user's expectations, behaviors, and goals. So basically what we are saying is, what we are trying to say is that user-centered design is an approach that is being used in design. It is an approach, a methodology that places the needs of the user. So just like the name user-centered design, here the user is centered in our design. So everything we do, every decision we make, every problem we try to solve with our design, they are all user-centered. So as a designer, we all know that your work as a product designer, a UI UX designer, we all know that our work is to solve users' problems. So basically everything in all that we are trying to do in our problem solving, we have to use the human-centered approach. Everything has to revolve around our users. We need to be able to know their goals. We need to be able to pay attention to their behaviors, the way they react to things, their preferences, what our users like, what exactly do these people need. So now the next one is the core principles of user-centered design. So there are some principles that are put in place in order for us to create a product that is user-centered in design. One of which is we have user focus. One of like the most important thing we need to consider when creating a product for our user is that it has to be user focused. Everything we are doing has to be focused on our user. It says that the primary focus is on the understanding, the needs, desires, and behaviors of our users. So in every decision, every design decision that we make through our design process, it has to be focused on our user. If a product is not solving, if it's not focused on our user, that means that product is not solving any problem. So that means basically you're not solving any problem, you are just doing something and you are not creating any solution for anybody. So in everything that you do as a designer, you have to focus on the user. The user has to be like the most important thing, that the most important person or the most important entity that you need to consider in your design process. The next one is the iterative design. So iterative, the word iteration means repetition. So when you're like repeating something, so the design process is iterative. It's something that you go back to, you keep going back to, it keeps going. It's not like a straight line thing, something that you just do once and then you just forget. No, you have to keep going back to it. It has to be continuous. It says allowing for continuous feedback, testing and refinement of the product. So any problem, any product or any application, any website that you have, you always have to go back to it. It's because it's a continuous process. You don't just create an application, or you don't just design an application and then you just leave the application there. Because as humans, we are not static. We grow every day. So any problem that you solved or you're trying to solve, you always have to go back to that problem and come up with new concepts, new ideas. Just imagine you have an application that, okay, the way the application has been is still the way it is till now. Nobody, at some point, people will move on because humans, we change, like we grow. So if you don't grow as well as a designer or you don't grow with your designs, people will move on and then they forget about your design and then nobody will use your design. That's why you will see applications and websites, they have different versions. For instance, iOS, like Apple now, they have their operating system, they keep updating it. It's a continuous process. They didn't just, I'm sure they didn't start with the current operating system that we have at the moment. So you have it, that's why we say it's an iterative process. So the next one now is usability and accessibility. It says that the design aims to make products usable by a wide range of users, including those with disabilities. So accessibility is a fundamental consideration. So as a designer, in order for you to create a product that is user-centered, it has to be accessible. I believe that any product, any application, any website that is not accessible cannot be usable. So for a product to be usable, it has to be accessible. And when we say something is accessible, that means everybody has access to that product. Everybody can use it. People with disability, people with that do not have disability. Basically, you make it accessible. And at the same time, in the process of making it accessible to everybody, we need to know that one product or one design cannot solve everybody's problem. That's why we have different products, even though they are in the same industry, they are solving different problems. For instance, OPay. We all know OPay is in the fintech app. Kuda also is in the fintech app. So they are both in the fintech industry, right? But their focus, they are solving problems for two different target audience. So I'm just trying to use that as an example. So one product cannot solve problem for everybody, but at the same time, there are some things that you need to put into consideration when trying to solve a problem with your design. So your designs, one of the most important things that you need to consider is accessibility. Accessibility is very, very important. And when you say accessibility, we are also talking about inclusivity. That means you include everybody, you include people. I know we have our target audience and all of that, but we still need to include other people. We need to consider other people. That's why you will see that, of course, people with disabilities, let's take for instance, people that cannot see, right? Of course, they have to exist, right? And they also have needs, right? They have their needs as well. Even though they have disabilities, they also have their needs. So for instance, they have the need of, maybe they want a bank application or a website. They need to go to a website. Even though they are blind, right? They can't see, but at the same time, they should be able to use that application, which is why you will see in some applications, even though the texts are written there, you will see like a voice over, like reading out the text. That's an example of an accessible design, a usable design, right? So now the next one is consistency. In user-centered design seeks to maintain consistency in design elements and iterations to create a cohesive and predictable user experience. So as a designer, right, you have to be consistent with your design, right? You have to be consistent with your design element, with your interaction. For instance, you as a user, you go into an application or a website, and then on the application, you are seeing that on one part, there is like a place you can buy clothes and all of that. And then on another part, you are seeing a place where you can buy house or rent an apartment. Then another part, you are seeing another part of the application where you can send money. That kind of design, that kind of interaction, in the process of the user interacting with that product, that's not a consistent interaction. It's not a consistent design element. So that's not user-centered, because for a product to be user-centered, you have to be consistent. If your product is solving problem for people with if your product is solving money issues, let it just focus on money issue. If you are solving problem for real estate and all of that, let it focus on that. If you are into e-commerce, let it focus on that. Don't just bring everything into your product because you think you want to solve problem. No, let's just pick the one we want to go with. Now the next one on our topic is understanding your users. So for us to create a user-centered design, we need to understand our user. And how do we understand our user? We understand our user by carrying out research. It's called user research. You carry out user research, and when you carry out this research, you gather information and then you analyze, you dissect this information, right? It says gathering and analyzing user research is a crucial part of the user-centered product design process. So it's very, very important. All of these things we are trying to do is we want to solve problem for our users. So we need to know more about our user. We need to know them. We need to know these people that we are solving problem for, because this has to be all about them. So we need to know them. And in order for us to know them, we need to carry out research and analyze it. So here are some step-by-step guides on how we can do that. Example is for the first one we have is you define your research goals. So like I usually say, or throughout, I've been able to discover recently that if you're trying to do anything in life and you don't define it, it's very, very easy for you to get confused. It's very, very easy for you to get distracted, right? So you need to define your research goals. You need to know the reason what exactly you are doing. What exactly are you trying to achieve at the end of this thing? What is the goal behind this whole research? So you need to define it and write it down. You start by clearly defining the goals and the objectives of your research. What specific information or insight are you looking to gather? So what exactly why am I doing this research? What problem exactly do I want to solve for this user. So you need to define it that, okay, at the end of all of this thing, at the end of this product or this design, this is what I want to have achieved. These are the things I want to be able to have achieved. So you need to define it. The next one now is you select a research method. So in design, we have different research methods. And I think it's not just in design, even in research generally, there are different methods in which we can approach research. So we have the surveys, we have interviews, and then we have usability testing. Now, when we say surveys, I'm very sure most of us would have seen Google Forms, where people will send you Google Forms and then they will tell you that please help me fill this form, or questionnaires. Even you might just be somewhere and then somebody comes to meet you and tell you that, oh, can you please help me fill this questionnaire? That's like a survey, right? So is that person trying to get to know more, trying to get to know your opinions, trying to know your preferences, trying to know the things, your view on that particular thing? So we carry out survey in order, we carry out surveys on our users in order for us to understand them better. Another one is interviews. Now, interviews, we use interviews a lot in design. We use interviews a lot in design. So, and this interview can either be physical or it can be virtual. Anyway, so basically, we are just trying to see how our user, what they think on, what is their opinion on that particular thing. Another one is usability testing. Usability testing is usually used at the end of a design. So when you have your design already, you've created the design, you've done the design is looking beautiful, and then so you get people to come and test that particular design so that you can get feedback and see the things that you can improve on. Which takes us to the next one, which is recruit participants. So you identify and recruit participants. So you need to know, first thing, you need to identify the people you are trying to solve problem for. I can remember one time during my design internship, so we're creating a product for Gen Zs. So then the product was a social media for Gen Zs, right? So we're able to identify our target audience, because it is important for you to identify your target audience. So your target audience are like people that will use your product. They're like people that you know that you are solving this particular problem for. So we know that, okay, this application is like a social media app for Gen Z. So we already know that our target audience is definitely Gen Z. I can't imagine going to interview or talk to a boomer or a millennial or somebody who is not a Gen Z. I can't really, if I talk to a millennial, somebody who is not Gen Z, if I talk to that person or I interview that person and then I get feedback and all of that, and then I go and design something based on that particular, based on someone or people who are not Gen Z, that product I can't sell such products to Gen Z, because Gen Zs we all know Gen Zs are people that they are very, very, they like beautiful things. They are very, very vocal. Gen Zs are very, very confident and all of that. You can't compare a Gen Z to a millennial. Millennials are still calm. They are still cool compared to Gen Zs, right? So you can't expect me to say, okay, I'm solving a problem for Gen Z, but I am talking to millennials or people that are not Gen Z, and I am doing interviews for people that are not Gen Z. Such a product, I can't sell such products to a Gen Z. So you need to identify, you need to be able to know the people that you are solving a problem for. So when you know your target audience, that's when you can recruit them. You can get them to do interviews with them, to help you fill surveys, to help you with your usability testing. So the next one is conduct research. So after you've been able to identify and recruit your participants, the people that will help you with your interviews, with your research, basically, then you proceed to conduct the research. So you execute the research activities, such as the interviews that we've been talking about, the surveys, following a structured plan, which is why we say you should define your goal. So if you define your goal, I'm so sure you will have a structured plan. And at the end of it, during the interview process, you should make sure, excuse me, you should be sure to ask open-ended questions to encourage meaningful responses. And what are open-ended questions? Open-ended questions are questions that cannot give you yes or no answer. So when we say an open-ended question, let's say, for instance, I ask somebody that, did you go to school today? And then I ask another person that, how was school today? If I ask somebody that, did you go to school today, that person will definitely tell me yes or no. Will either answer yes or no. Oh, yes, I went to school today, or no, I didn't go to school today. Right? So that's like a straightforward answer, a straight answer, yes or no answer. And that's not an open-ended question. But when I ask somebody that, how was school today, I'm sure that person cannot reply me with yes or no. It's not possible. The person will tell me, the person will narrate his or her experiences in school, how the day went in school, or the person will start talking, will start gisting me out about everything. So this also goes for design as well. You don't have, during interviews, or during interviews most especially, you don't ask people that, oh, did you do something? Did you, rather you ask the question what, you ask the question how, you ask the question when. Those are the kind of questions that you ask. Because if you ask yes or no question, you can't really get to know what their pain point is. You can't really know their problem, the user's problem. So you need to ask open-ended questions like how, so that they will be able to describe their experiences. And from that, you can understand the user better. The next one is observe user behavior. So in the process of talking to the user, you need to observe, right? I found out that people most times some people they don't want to say things because they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? They don't want to give responses because they are like, I don't want to hurt this person. I mean, you've designed a product already. You've designed the product is looking so beautiful, and then you give somebody to test. Maybe because the product is beautiful, or maybe because the person is your friend or your family, or maybe it's just somebody that does not like saying negative things about somebody. So even though in the process of using the application, they are going through stress, or it's not a good user experience, they won't tell you with their mouth. So it's very, very important for us to observe user behavior. You need to observe people's facial expression. You need to observe people's reaction to a product, so that you can know that, okay, this person is actually going through a difficulty, or this interaction is quite difficult for that person at that particular time. So you need to observe that person. Now, the next one is, after you've observed all of these things, you need to document. So you need to put all of these things, you need to document them, you need to record them, because data and insights are actually very important in design, because these are the things that the feedbacks that you get, these are the things that will inform the things that you will implement in the design. These are the things that will inform you about your users, the people that you've been able to talk to. So these are the things that you need. So you need data. Keeping data and documenting data is actually very, very important. So the next one is identify pain points. So after you've done all of these things, I'm sure in the process of me talking to somebody, interviewing them, observing their behavior and all of those things, you will notice their pain points. You should be able to notice it. So once you notice it, you highlight them, you write them down, and you see areas in which you can improve the user experience. I found out that there is no new problem, right? There's no new problem. It's only new solutions we have. I can remember then when I was doing my internship, when I think of ideas or problems I can solve with my designs, I just find out that somebody has done something similar, or somebody has done the exact thing that I want to design, or the problem I want to try to solve with my design. So after all of that, I just discovered that there's actually no new problem. It's just the way we approach this problem, the way we solve this problem. That's the way it's different. That's why you can see fintechs, it's all about money, right? Money, transactions, and all of that. So everybody is still the same problem, but different companies, they are approaching that problem in different ways. So you need to identify these problems, these pain points, and then you see ways in which you can improve in the user experience. You look for opportunities that you can use to enhance the product. Now we move to the next topic, which is the design thinking process. What is the design thinking process? Design thinking is a problem solving and innovation methodology that is centered around understanding and empathizing with the users, with the needs of the users or customers. It is human-centered approach to design and problem solving that emphasizes creativity, collaboration, and iterative thinking. Design. So basically, what we are trying to say is that design thinking is ways in which as designers we use, it's a method, it's a process we designers use to solve problems for people. Okay, it's a process, it's a method in which designers use to solve problems. So we use this process. It's like a step, not necessarily a step by step, but it's basically a process. Yes, a process that we use as designers to solve problems, and it includes a lot of creativity. It includes collaboration. It includes continuous thinking. So you have to think. You have to come up with ideas in design thinking. So there are 5 major phases or stages of design thinking. We have the empathize stage, we have the define stage, we have the ideate stage, and we have the prototype stage, and then we have the test stage. The first one, the empathize stage. Empathize. Empathize is an action word of the noun empathy. I'm sure we all know the word empathy. So the noun is empathy, and empathize is the verb, which is the action word. So according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, empathy is the process of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and the experience of another. So basically, all that we are trying to say about empathy is just you putting yourself in other people's shoes. That's the bottom line. That's what empathy is all about. So empathy is just you putting yourself, you seeing yourself in another person's situation. So if you're in that person's situation, what would you do? What solution would you come up with? Right? Just what exactly would I do if I was in this person's situation? And it is important for us to note that empathy is actually different from sympathy. Sympathy and empathy both refer to a caring response to the emotional state of another person. But a distinction between them is typically made. While sympathy is a feeling of sincere concern for someone who is experiencing something difficult or painful, empathy involves sharing in the emotional experience of the other person. So they both have to do with you feeling something, right? It's about feeling. But for sympathy, empathy is deeper than sympathy. Empathy is just you see somebody, and then maybe somebody tells you, oh, maybe somebody broke my heart, or I had an accident or something, and then you're just like, oh, sorry, and then you just move on with your life. Although you care about that person, right? I understand that you care about that person, but you're just like sorry, and then that's it. But empathy will tell you that, oh, somebody did this to you, oh my god. Oh, if so, you start thinking with empathy. You start thinking, if I was in this person's shoe, what would I do? What solution would I come up with? If I could remember when they broke my heart, converse with the person, and then you begin to come up with solutions. You start talking with the person, you begin to come up with solutions. That's exactly what it is in design as well. If you empathize with your users, right, you'll be able to, you put yourself in their shoes, so you will know the appropriate solutions that you can come up with, the appropriate way you can solve their problems, because you can understand them, you can feel their pain. So you'll be able to know what exactly you need to come up with. So empathy is crucial to problem solving, and is a human-centered design process, as it allows design thinkers to set aside their own assumptions about the world and gain real insight into users and their needs. So you need to note that in the process of you trying to empathize with somebody, you are not to assume, right? We can find out that even in friendships, right? If you start assuming things, if you families and all people, your friends, and you start assuming things, and you don't communicate with them, you start assuming things. At the end of the day, you can find out that you might be wrong. Same thing goes for design. In the process of empathizing, you are not to assume anything. You put your biases aside. You're not to be biased about anything. You're not to make up anything in your head, just so that, okay, this person is going through this problem. Okay, you just see it as if, okay, this is my problem now. But at the same time, you don't assume anything. You don't come up with anything in your head. You're just like, okay, this person is going through this thing. Then you begin to come up with ideas and all of that. Now we move to the next one, which is the defined state, the defined stage. In the defined stage, you will organize the information you have gathered during the empathize stage. You will analyze your observations to define the core problems you and your teams have been able to come up with. So, like I said earlier, it is always important for us to always define things. So you've done all the you've empathized with your users. You now know their pains. You know what they are going through. You've interviewed a lot of people. You know what they are going through now. So now your work as a designer now is to define their problem. You need to define it so that you can focus, so that you can know that, okay, this is where we are going to. This is what we are focusing on. And the process of you the process of you defining that problem, you are trying to craft a problem statement. This is the state where you craft your problem statement. So you need to have a problem statement, because this at the end of the day is going to guide you through your process, through your design process, through your design thinking process. So you need to, so once you have that statement, you have that already, and that's going to guide you all through the way. So while defining the problem statement, you should not define the problem as your own wish or the need of the company. I know, right? As companies, we know that our companies basically they want to make profit. That's, I know people will say, oh, they want to solve problem, they want to solve problem. We all know that the end goal is to make profits, right? So even though the company you want to define, you want to design for, they come to you with their problem statement, you as a designer, you still need to go out there and do your research and not make the problem statement about the company. Let's take for instance this example that we have. We need to increase our food product market share among young teenage girls by 5%. Now this is a problem statement by a company, right? So we are not saying that you should pitch your problem statement from the perception of the user's need. Now, the right way to do that is by saying that teenage girls need to eat nutritious food in order to thrive, be healthy, and grow. So now we can see that these are two different approaches, right? The first one is basically how the company can increase their own food product market to share among young teenagers, while the other one is basically focusing on teenage girls. So the focus here, the users here are the teenage girls, and that's our focus. So we are not bothered about how the food is going to do in the market for now. We are not bothered about that, because we are our products. We are trying to solve a problem for people. So our focus here now is the teenage girls. The next one is the ideate stage. During the third stage of the design thinking process, designers are ready to generate ideas. You have grown to understand your users and their needs in this empathize stage. So, ideation from the word idea. So, this is the stage whereby we begin to come up with all possible ideas, as many ideas as possible. Now, you need to understand that in this process, in this stage, in the design thinking process, there is no useless idea. No idea is too small, no idea is too big, no idea is too little. You come up with as many these ideas as possible. Think of as many ideas as possible, because you need these are the ideas that you will put into your design. These are the ideas that you need to put into your designs. These are the solutions that you have been able to come up with to solve this user's problem. So if you will find out that in the process of you coming up with many ideas as possible, it will lead to innovation, right? So when you are thinking, you find out that it will get to a point you get so creative, right? You'll be so creative. So there are hundreds of ideation techniques you can use. But one that is very common is known as brainstorm, right? So when we say brainstorm means you being spontaneous about your creative ideas, right? When you brainstorm on something, you are not, you are not guided, or you are not caged in a particular way. You are spontaneous. You think of as many things as possible. You think of as many ideas as possible. That's why most times, actually, most designers, they use this brainstorm. They brainstorm a lot, right? You brainstorm, and worst possible idea techniques are typically used as the start of the ideation stage to stimulate free thinking. Like I said earlier, if you keep coming up with ideas, ideas, you are not caged. You are not, it's not an enclosed place, right? So you are free to think. You are free to think of anything, any idea possible, any possible idea, because this will allow you to generate as many ideas as possible. The next one is the prototype stage. For the prototype stage, this is an experimental phase, and the aim is to identify the best possible solution for each of the problems identified during the three stages. We said that, okay, ideation, you come up with ideas. So this is the place in which you start streamlining your ideas. You start putting your ideas together. You streamline them. You now begin to pick the useful ones and the ones that are not useful. You start picking them out. You now start structuring it. You start putting them together, and then you streamline that. You see the feasible ones, the ones that are feasible, and then so these ideas, you begin to sketch them out. You sketch them out. You put them into pen and paper, using pen and paper. You sketch these ideas out. So by the end of the prototype stage, the design team will have a better idea of the product's limitation and the problem it faces. They will also have a clearer view of how real users would behave, think, and feel when they interact with the end product. Now, the last phase, which is the test phase. I remember I talked about usability testing. Now, this is where we use the usability testing. Now, you begin to test your prototypes with real users. Now, you get people, the participants that we talked about initially, you get them, you bring them together, and you call them to come and test your design. So you can know how the product is going to be in the market. From there, you can actually, at some point, you can to an extent, you can gauge the success of your product during your testing phase or your testing stage. So you test it, and then by then you will know, okay, so from that you'll be able to gather feedback. You'll be able to know that, okay, people are complaining about this particular thing. People are not able to do this, they are not able to do that. So you will know, you get another feedback. So you can always go back. At the same time, you can go back and see what you can improve. what you can add, what exactly you can add to. So you can see what again you can add to your design, how you can improve the design. It says that you can then proceed with further iteration and make alterations and refinement. So you begin to refine. If somebody gives feedback, you go back to the design, you refine it, you adjust it, because all we are trying to do is we are making the whole thing user-centered. It is user-centered. So anything our user says, well, not anything, but what our users are like our priorities, right? So their feedback, we need to work on their feedback. So now, it is important for us to understand that the design thinking process is not a linear process. It is a process that keeps going in circles. You keep going around the circles for as long as possible. So when we say linear means straight, like something on a straight line, like a line, right? A line. That's what linear is. But design process is not a linear. I'm sure from the way I listed the stages, we think, oh, if I move from empathy, I move from to define. From define, I move to ideate. Then from ideate, I move to prototype and then to test. No, design is actually not like that. It's not a linear thing, right? It's from this image here, we can see this sign of infinity. So we can see here that it's a process that it's non-stop. It keeps going. It keeps going. You can be at the test phase already, and then in the process, you just discover that something is actually wrong somewhere, or you still don't understand something, and you want to be clear. You can always go back to empathize with your user. You carry out another research, or you can go back to define your problem statement again. So it's not a linear process. It's not something that, oh, I have to go from this place. No, you can always go back. You can, that's why we say it's iterative. It's continuous. And it's non-stop. Even after launching a product, after your testing, after launching, even after testing, your usability testing, they've tested it and you've launched the product. Even while people are using the product, you can always go back again to iterate again, to come up with better ideas again for your products. Now we move to the next one, which is the tools and the techniques that we use in product design for a user-centered product design. Now, there are various tools and techniques that we use to create user-centered designs. So now let's look at some practical tools. I'm sure most designers, you are familiar with Figma. There are some design tools that we have. We have Sketch, we have Figma and Adobe XD, and a lot more. We have Prototype. We have a lot, but most of us are actually familiar with Figma and Adobe XD, most especially. So these are like the tools. These are the softwares where all the magic happens, where all the designs take place. The next one is we have wireframes. We have our wireframes. Wireframes are what we use to craft out our ideas, all those ideas. So you put them together. It's basically like wires that you connect. They're like wires that you connect using shapes and lines and all of those things. We can see that here. So they're like shapes. They are not like the real design. There are no colors. There are no colors. We don't have colors here compared to this, which is the mock-up. In the mock-up, that's where we have the colors. Everything is looking so fine. Everything is looking so attractive. All those colors that we see. So mock-ups are like what the end product will look like. So after this mock-up, now you can now give it to the front-end developers. Those are the ones that then they start writing code, they start coding it, and then the product goes live. Now the next one is design psychology. Design psychology is an essential aspect of product design, as it involves using visual cognitive principles to influence user behavior and perception. So here is an exploration of the psychological aspect of design. So when we say design psychology, when we hear the word psychology, right, we think of the mind, the human mind. So there are some things that we do in design that connect with the human mind. There are some things that we do. There are some elements in our design. There are some elements in our designs that connect with the human mind. For instance, color theory says color has a profound impact on human emotions and perceptions. So human beings, there are ways in which we see colors, right? Colors actually have meaning. It says that different colors can evoke specific feelings and reactions, which is why understanding color theory is crucial in design thinking. Like all these colors that we have, like blue, purple, red, and all of that, they actually have meaning. Like blue actually signifies trust. I'm sure some people, they know that once they see anything bluish, anything that has the color blue, it has to do with trust. It has to do with something they can trust, which is why some banks, they use color blue, right? Like First Bank, like Union Bank, they use the color blue, right? They use color blue because blue signifies trust, right? And money, they are dealing with people's money, so they need, okay, when people see that, okay, blue, right, they are like, okay, blue, well, I think I can trust them with my money. Well, that's not always the case, but there's this psychology behind colors. So once they see color blue, they are like, okay, color blue, blue signifies trust, so I can trust these people with my money. Same goes with purple. Purple means royalty. Something purple is for something royal, like something big, something expensive, something luxurious, right? So that's what purple signifies. We also have green as well. When we see the color green, green has to do with nature. Green is the color of a leaf, right? So when we see green, what comes to our head is something that has to do with nature, something that has to do with plants, that has to do with flowers and all of those things. So same thing goes for pink. When you see color pink, we all know that pink is kind of girly. So when I see, that's why you see women applications that are designed for women or that has to do with children is usually pink. You see the color pink. So there is this psychology behind colors. Same with red. Red can mean, that's why you see that when they want to talk about love or something, you see color red. They use color red. Sometimes they use pink as well. They use color red. So colors actually, they have their meaning. So there is this psychology behind colors that, okay, because this color signifies this color signifies this. Now the next one is typography. So typography also plays a crucial role in conveying information, establishing hierarchy, readability, consistency, and setting the tone for a design. So from this, we can see from this from this slide here, we can say that this typography, this design psychology is actually bigger than the rest of the text here. This is telling you, this is talking about hierarchy. When we say something is in hierarchy, that means there are levels to these things, right? One is at the top, followed by this one, followed by that one. So with the way I did this text on this slide, you can see that what I want you to focus more on is the topic, right? Which is design psychology. Then the next one, you see that the next one is talking about what design psychology is. And then the next one is talking about what the content, the things that I have listed out under design psychology. So typography actually helps with that. It helps with hierarchy. And the same thing goes with readability. If you see a text that is not readable, as a user, I will just move from that. If I go to a website and the text that I'm seeing on that website, I can't read it. It's not readable. I can't comprehend. I don't know what is written there. I'm going to move away from that thing because human beings, we don't like stress. So we don't want anything that's going to stress our brain, going to stress our head. So I will just move on, and I'm not going to use that particular application. So anything, our text it has to be readable. The next one is consistency. We talked about consistency. I'm sure if you look at all of these slides that I've been sharing, that I've been using since, you see that there's it's kind of consistent, right? There's a consistency with it. The backgrounds, they are of the same color. Just imagine I just bring another color and then I just put it to you guys' faces, and you guys are like, it will be easy for you guys to follow me with the way I'm teaching. But the way everything is relating, like the colors, they are all flowing together like that. It actually helps. Same goes with um typography. You can see that all the things that are written in blue and they are written in bold text. You can see that those are like the topics. So it's easy for you with our cognitive stuff. Now we are able to know that, okay, anything, because you guys have been seeing how I've been using this color blue and how big it is. You guys have been seeing it. So in your edge, you guys are like, okay, this thing is actually the topic. So you guys know that already. And once you see this small one, you guys know that, oh, that's like the body text already. So typography also, because that's the way the human mind is trained. We are trained to things that we are used to. We see them as being things that they are written the same way or they are classified the same way. We see them as being related. If I do anything different now, the human mind is going to tell your mind is going to tell you that, okay, this thing is actually different from the rest. Now we move to our last topic, which is accessibility in design. Now, designing for accessibility is another crucial aspect of design, product design, as it ensures that all users, including those with disability, can access and use a product effectively. Like I said, a usable design is the one in which is accessible. So any design that is not accessible, that people cannot use, that design is not usable. It cannot be used. Such design is useless. So there are some of the importance of designing for accessibility. Number one, we have inclusivity. So inclusivity from the word include. So as a designer, right, to make your design accessible, you have to include people. You have to include everyone. Like I said, you can't solve problem for everybody, but at the same time, you have to include everybody. I don't know if that makes sense. But yes, you can't solve a problem for everybody, but you need to include everybody, right? Which is why we all fintechs, they are solving problems for it. They have different things they are focusing on, but they are all in fintech, right? So, but at the same time, you need to include people. It says designing for accessibility ensures that your product is inclusive and can be used by a wide range of people, regardless of their physical or cognitive abilities. It reflects a commitment to equal access and a more diverse user base. So I'm sure most of us now that we are using dark mode was actually created for people that have color blindness, people that have issues with their eyes. There are people that they can't read on a background that is too white because of reflection and all of that, which was why they did dark mode, where everybody now is now using dark mode, right? So that's actually an inclusive design because they are considering people with disability, and disability is not just something that, oh, maybe somebody does not have a hand, or somebody, like, you don't have to be blind for you to be disabled, right? You don't have to be blind. Somebody does not have to be blind for that person to be disabled. There are people that they are seeing, they're seeing well, but they have this color blindness. There's a way their eyes react to colors. So, which was why they created dark mode. But now everybody is enjoying dark mode. Most people prefer dark mode to light mode. That's actually inclusivity in design. The next one is enhanced user experience. Accessible design often leads to better user experience for all users. Clear and simple design can benefit everyone, not just those with disabilities. So your designs have to be accessible, right? And if a design is accessible, it's going to enhance user experience. And when we say user experience, we are talking about the way users, customers, people, the way they interact, how they feel, how they experience your product. So if your design is accessible, it's going to enhance it. It's going to improve are the way people experience your product. So your design has to be clear and simple. There are some people, if they see an application that, or a bank app, they see a bank application, and they have to take a lot of steps for them just to transfer money. I'm taking like 10 steps for me to transfer money. As a user, as somebody that does not like stress, such design is not accessible for me, and I'm just going to abandon that design because it's not clear and it's not simple. I don't know, for me, there are some applications that I find very difficult to use. And once I see that your application is not easy for me to use, I just leave it, and you will not see me on that application. I don't find them easy. They are not clear enough. So that's why even as a designer, your design has to be clear. You see some designs, a lot of colors that are distracting. You see colors, different colors that at the end of the day, the user will not be able to do what exactly they came to do on the application. Some is just interactions everywhere, animations everywhere that is distracting. Some people don't like those things because their cognitive mind cannot even carry all those things. So they will just leave your application and not use it. So, like I said before, it's not disability does not, it's not just, oh, somebody is blind or somebody's hand or something, somebody is on wheelchair or something. No, disability, some people they have disabilities that are not like visible. Yes, they have disabilities that are not visible. So wider market reach. By making your product accessible, you open it to a larger market. People with disabilities as well as aging population represent a significant and growing user base, right? So, like I said before, if I see that your application, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, if I see that an app, it's only if that app is compulsory for me to use, I'll not use that application. So from there, if I'm talking to a friend or that friend was like, I tried using the app and the app, I don't even understand what is going on. From there, that keeps going, it keeps going. The news keeps spreading. From there, you discover that one person keeps telling the other, it keeps going, and then you discover that a lot of people are not using that application, so it's going to reduce your market reach. But if you make it accessible, you make it simple, like just make it easy. Let me just do my task. The goal is for me to send money or to download something. Let me just do it within 1 to 3 steps and get my result. Not that I will have to take 10 steps and something disturbing, I don't even understand the whole thing. So you have to make it accessible. So, like I said, still the same thing. Disabilities and well-aging population represent a significant and growing user base. So even older people too, you need to consider them in your design. That's why you need to create a simple application. There's actually an application. Well, I don't want to mention it, but there's actually an application that even older people, it's a social media application. Even older people, they find that app very, very easy to use because that app is actually very easy to use. So they find it easy to use and is accessible to them. It's basically accessible to everybody. That's why people using that application, they are actually much like a lot of people are using it, both old, young, like a lot of people, because that product is accessible. So it's going to expand their market reach. It's going to give them a wider market reach. So the next one now is the principles and the guidelines for accessibility. We have, like I said earlier, provide text alternatives. That's why you have screen readers on some websites or some applications. They are screen readers because there are people that they can't see. They can't see some things on the app. So they use screen readers to read what the app is talking about. It says ensure that all non-text content like images, videos, etc. have text alternatives for screen readers. The second one is use clear and consistent navigation. Clear and consistent navigation menus and headings make it easier for users to understand and find content. So your message has to be clear. Whatever information you are passing in on a product, on an application, it has to be clear. It has to be easy, be consistent. The navigation should not be something that I will have to go and watch YouTube video for me to navigate an app. That's actually not a good user experience. There are some applications that for you to use it, you have to go and watch an YouTube videos in order for you to use it. That's not a good navigation. Another one is plain language. Use clear and simple language in your content to ensure that it is understandable to a wide audience. So make it clear. Whenever you're debating everything, just make it clear. So now this brings us to the end of the whole thing. So a summary of what we've been talking about is that user experience is not a trend. It's a fundamental approach to creating successful products. So it's not like a trend. It's not something that is common now that will go away later. No, that's not what we are saying. It's something that has come to stay. It's like an approach. It's actually fundamental. It's very important. It's an important approach to creating a successful product. Whatever application you are building, whatever product you are building, you have to make it user-centered, right? So it places the user's needs and experiences at the core of the design process. Everything, all the processes, everything you are doing, the user, any decision you are making, even though the end goal is to make profit, it is still the user. So gathering and analyzing user research is essential to making informed decisions. So information, feedbacks is actually helpful in your design decision. Real life examples show how user insights can transform products. So an example or real life examples is actually a way of showing how of showing the insight that can transform your product. The design process is iterative and involves stages like ideation, prototype, and testing. Like I said, it is iterative, it is continuous, it's not static, it's not a linear thing, it's not something that, oh, you move from year to year and that's the end. No, it's iterative, it's continuous, keeps moving, doesn't stop. Iteration and continuous, yes, still the same thing. Fundamental design principles such as contrast, alignment, repetition, and proximity play a crucial role in design success. So these are like still under design psychology. So contrast, I explained okay, I didn't explain contrast. Yeah, but contrast, alignment, repetition, proximity. Contrast is anything that is like opposing each other. So that's why black goes well with white. So contrast is like black and white. So anything you are doing in design, any color you want to use, any text you want to place on any background, they have to contrast. They have to contrast. You can see the background of this slide here. You can see that the text written on this background is quite visible enough. That's telling you that it's contrasting, it's readable, it makes it readable. Then alignment, you can see alignment. This is alignment. You can see the way I aligned all of these things. You can see that everything is on a straight line, everything is well structured. That is alignment. Repetition is also like consistency. That means you are consistent. And then the next one is proximity. Proximity means nearness. When we say proximity, it means nearness. So anything that is close to each other, users, they see them as being related, right? So, and all of these, they actually help with our design. And then we talked about color, typography, layout choices, and significantly influence user behavior and perception. Inclusivity and accessibility should be the central of product design, making the products usable by everyone. Like I said, accessibility is actually very, very important. Very, very important. So this brings us to the end of our workshop. So is there any question anybody would like to ask? Does anybody have any question? Kindly ask them now. Thank you. Mr. Enoch. Hello. Hello. Can anybody hear me? Thank you. Mr. Enoch, I'm done though. I guess he went to do something.
He's not here again. The Enoch is on this call again.
Oh, okay. I guess it's just the three of us.
Yes.
Does anybody? Okay, maybe we'll just bring it on in. Or what do you guys think?
Yeah. Can you send the slide to me? I wrote my email address down.
Oh my God! I thought
I
I've
think
been
we need to
talking.
call it. I think we need to call it a night. It's not here again.
Yes. Do you have a WhatsApp? What's it called? Are you on the WhatsApp group chat?
Yes.
The one on Ethereum support, right?
Lagos. Ethereum Lagos.
Oh, okay. I'm not on that one. Are you on the
Okay,
Telegram?
you have the Ethereum Nigeria, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on that one too.
Okay. Okay. You can just tell me on WhatsApp, and then I'll send
All
you
right.
instead of sharing through your email.
I'll
I
do
guess
that
it's
now.
gone.
I'll do that now. Good night, Andy.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye. Hi. Bye to me.